Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And if you like the things we talk about on this podcast each week, you should check out our free basic course at michaelneill.org/basic course. And what I wanted to talk about this week is a metaphor for awakening. So I'm doing a new program in 2025 called The Awakeners. And it's a way of looking at what it is to wake up to a deeper dimension of life, what we could call a spiritual dimension or the formless dimension. And waking up is one of the common metaphors for beginning to see with inner eyes, beginning to see the kingdom of heaven within. Other ways it's talked about are going inside. It's seeing with new eyes. But awakening is a metaphor that I like because most people wake up every day and go to sleep and wake up and go to sleep. And so they understand it. It's very easy to kind of get what it is to wake up. But sometimes we expect spiritual awakening to come with bells and whistles and John Williams-esque orchestrations, and when it isn't that dramatic, we don't credit it. And so I'm always looking for new ways of pointing people towards this deeper dimension of life. And one of the ones that came up in a client session recently is we were talking about the difference between describing something that you're looking at and trying to talk about something that you've seen before. And so at the time I think I was looking at I had a remote control for a television in my hand. And so I described the remote control, and it had buttons and it was a pretty good description because I was looking at it. And then I said, but if I try to describe the Lincoln Memorial, even though I've been there a few times, and I think the last time I was there I might have been 8 years old, it's going to be less good. It's like, even if I'm really articulate, when I'm trying to describe something from memory or something that maybe I've only read about before, I'm going to leave bits out. Like my memory of the Lincoln Memorial, I remember there being big pillars, which were Greco-Roman in nature, and this big statue of Abraham Lincoln with his hands on his knees looking sternly out into the world. And it's never going to be as effective a description if I'm trying to describe from memory as if I'm looking at what I'm describing. So the point of all of that is to say that sometimes people go, well, I feel like I get this deeper connection, but I can't talk to people about it. And it's because they're trying to talk about it from memory. Whereas when you're in the experience of presence, when you're in touch with, in the feeling of this deeper dimension of life, before the form, it carries something different with it. But as I was speaking to this client, I realized, this isn't really the metaphor. Because we're not telling somebody about something that maybe one day they might get to if they meditate enough, if they pray enough, if they do the right disciplines for the right length of time with the right people, they might get to heaven in the same way as if you take the right train or bus or car route, you might one day get to the Lincoln Memorial. Within the metaphor, we're all standing at the Lincoln Memorial. And 99% of the people have their eyes closed. And so anyone who's got their eyes open can describe what they're seeing, and all the people around them will go, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Wow, thanks Eckhart Tolle, thanks Byron Katie, thanks Krishnamurti, thanks Jesus, thanks Buddha, thanks whichever spiritual teacher I am attuned to. That sounds amazing. How do I get that? And the spiritual teacher is looking at them, standing right by their side, with their eyes screwed shut tight, wondering how do I get people to, not how do I get people to nirvana, how do I get people to the kingdom of heaven? How do I get people to open their eyes and see that they're already here? When the Indian mystic Meher Baba came to America in the 1960s, he famously got off the plane and said, "They live in paradise, but they don't know it." And it was widely reported as a sort of a reflection on poverty and wealth and the difference between what life was like in India and what life was like in America. But it seems to me that he was pointing to this metaphor for awakening. They live in paradise, but they don't know it. We are living in this spiritual reality. And we don't notice, or if we start to get a feel for that deeper quiet, that deeper presence, we just chalk it up to, oh, well, I had my Wheaties today. I had sex today. I did well at work today. I'm in a good mood. And we don't realize that what we're sensing, what's filling us up, is the presence of presence. The presence of mind, the presence of God. And so we continue to look around, we continue to travel around with our eyes closed, looking for somebody who can describe this deeper dimension better, or in a way that we can hear. But ultimately, awakening is as simple as opening your eyes to where you are right now. Not just your outer eyes, your inner eyes. And when you do, you start to feel the presence of presence. You start to feel your true nature, this deeper, formless dimension of life. And you start to get a taste for it. There's an old commercial I remember from when I was growing up, and there were these two women in a nail salon, and one of the women is soaking her hands before a manicure, and the manicurist's name is Madge. And Madge is talking to her about, she's looking at her hands very disapprovingly and going, your hands are terrible. You need to start using palm olive dishwashing liquid. And she goes, palm olive? Really? Can a dishwashing detergent make that much of a difference? And Madge goes, you're soaking in it. And she looks at her hand in surprise that this lovely softening liquid that her hands have been in was palm olive dishwashing liquid. But in a way, the same is true for all of us. If you're looking for a deeper reality, if you're looking for a spiritual reality, if you're looking for the gift of presence, the peace of mind, the kingdom of heaven, you're soaking in it. And if you take a moment, you'll start to notice. And once you start to notice, even if you fall back asleep, even if you close your eyes again, in any moment, you're never more than one thought away from opening those inner eyes back up, noticing what is always already here, and filling up with the energy of life. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk to you soon.